Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. So I'm back for another Roscoe's recap, and this week was for season 15 episode 11, and the guests were Marcia, Bag of Chips and Juno Birch. And if you want to watch the full viewing party, I'll put a link in the description. Today we'll be talking about things such as what Loosey LaDuca was really like on set, whether Marcia agreed with the critiques of her comedy challenge, and why Anetra blocked Aja on social media. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. Please note that because we're going to be talking about the outcome of certain episodes of Drag Race, there is a spoiler alert in place for this video. So they started off by talking about how short the episodes have been so far on season 15, and the host Naysha Lopez made the point that this episode was the first episode where it's gone back to 90-minute episodes and the audience cheered. And Naysha wondered whether they would offer people to buy the extended edition of Drag Race once the season is over. They then talked about the moment at the beginning of this episode where Luxx Noir London said that Loosey LaDuca should have had a baby belly in her runway from last week's Beyoncés runway, and the two of them had a bit of a disagreement about it. And this kind of played into the ongoing narrative that there's been about Loosey, that she is desperate to win and is sometimes a bit delusional. And Marcia said that Loosey is, quote, never too serious about anything, and said that Loosey is a lovely person. And Marcia also said that everyone thought that Loosey was going to win that week. So Marcia said that Loosey had every right to be confident because she was good in every challenge. And Loosey has even acknowledged her storyline on the season so far. For example, on Twitter, when the preview for this week's episode came out and it showed the disagreement between Luxx and Loosey about the baby bump, Loosey tweeted saying, "All tea, Luxx Noir London was right," with a pregnant emoji. And previously on Twitter, Loosey talked about her edit on Drag Race and said, "Truly sick and tired of this narrative they're building that I was so serious and competitive that I didn't have fun. I laughed so much each and every day on that set with every single one of the girls. I truly had a blast, but I guess showing us getting along isn't good TV." And Loosey also got some criticism in last week's episode when she said that she had won 3 challenges, which was 1 maxi and 2 mini challenges. And on the show they made it look like Loosey was being delusional again. But Loosey seemed to imply as though production told her to say that when she tweeted saying, "Being told to list your mini and main wins versus airing your response." Anyway, back to Roscoe's, and they made a joke about no one being able to understand Bag of Chips' accent. And this made Naysha bring up last week's challenge on Drag Race, and she asked Marcia if she really couldn't understand Charo's accent. And Marcia said that she thought it was a bit, quote, unfair that throughout her segment they kept showing confessionals of Anetra saying that Marcia couldn't understand Charo, and then they cut to shots of Marcia looking confused. But Marcia said that she actually had a really nice conversation with Charo, and she admitted that at times she was processing what Charo was saying and was trying to find places where she could cut in with a question. But in general, Marcia implied as though the interview was edited to look much worse than it actually was. They then moved on to the mini challenge for this week, which was a voguing dance challenge. And host Batty Davis said, quote, "I think it's safe to say we waited long enough because some of the girls in the beginning, that would have been a little more of an issue for Queen Aja to read the girls." And Marcia said that for her personally, she wasn't trying to do actual voguing and claims no history in voguing and didn't want to disrespect anybody. And just to explain the backstory behind this, there has been a lot of contention about voguing, especially on Drag Race, and how it is often done wrong, and this could be seen as disrespectful. For those of you who don't know, voguing is a highly stylized modern house dance originating in the late 1980s that evolved out of the Harlem ballroom scene of the 1960s. And it gained mainstream exposure after the 1990 documentary Paris is Burning, and also the Madonna music video for the song Vogue, also in 1990. And the Harlem ballroom scene originated as an African American and Latino LGBT+ subculture from the 1960s through to the 1980s. And there has been a lot of discussion online as to whether it's insulting or a form of cultural appropriation for people to dance in the style of voguing without being part of that subculture or having studied voguing. And the reason Batty mentioned Aja is because Aja has been very vocal about this topic so far. For example, in episode 1 of season 15, Anetra's talent show went viral and the style of dance she was doing is very similar to voguing. And Aja was live tweeting during the episode, and after Anetra's performance, Aja tweeted saying, "Stop nogging on Drag Race." And nogging refers to when someone is imitating the style of voguing but doesn't have any actual knowledge of it and is doing it wrong. Anyway, after Aja tweeted that about Anetra, Aja received a lot of criticism from people saying that she was trying to, quote, gatekeep the art of voguing. And Aja later tweeted saying, "I just hate mocking Vogue." And Aja seemingly amended her stance on this slightly and later said, "I like her a lot, I just hate it when people not in ballroom get awarded for doing things ballroom related." And Aja said that she had re-watched Anetra's performance and said that she actually liked it and said that Anetra landed the dip correctly, but she said that the duck walking was, quote, a little sloppy. And Aja received a lot of criticism online about this, and some people even said that Aja has not been in the ballroom scene for very long herself, so she shouldn't be critiquing others. However, Aja denied this and said that she has been doing ballroom for a long time. But Aja later said that Anetra's performance was entertaining and she hopes that Anetra takes some voguing classes, and Aja's intention was never to spread hate or bullying towards anybody. And it appears that Anetra must have heard about what Aja had been saying about her performance, and then Anetra apparently blocked Aja. Aja then said in a since deleted tweet that Anetra unfollowing me on Instagram and removing me as a follower after I gave her flowers but made a simple critique on behalf of many others in ballroom who feel the same way instead of just responding to the DM I sent and creating a dialogue is comical to me. And people responded to Aja saying that Anetra did the right thing by removing herself from Aja's, quote, pettiness and gatekeeping. And Aja later said that her community was being made a mockery of, which is why she was upset about it. And Aja also compared the situation to if someone was doing a Bollywood dance incorrectly and then avoided being asked about it. And this issue of voguing and gatekeeping has been a big topic recently. For example, I mentioned this in a previous video, but prominent ballroom dancer and performer Laomi once tweeted about Todrick Hall saying that he needed to stop nogging. And Laomi also said the same thing about Drag Race contestants too, and Laomi even said that Drag Race would never book her to be a judge, and she suggested it's because she's considered, quote, problematic for calling out appropriation. And this topic was also called out by other people, such as Gravity Balmain, who competed on season 1 of the show Legendary, which is a voguing reality competition. And when the preview for this week's Drag Race mini challenge came out, Gravity posted on Instagram saying, "Call me a hater all you want, but the voguing mini challenge in tomorrow's Drag Race episode is probably the most egregious and blatant example of the show's unrelenting efforts to bastardize and make a mockery of Vogue and ballroom, from terminology to technique to framing." And Gravity continued and said that it was very disheartening and claimed that Drag Race was spreading misinformation about voguing. But Gravity made it clear that these comments aren't targeted at the queens, but towards, quote, the powers that be. And so this has become a hotly debated topic, especially now within the Drag Race community, and this is seemingly why Anetra blocked Aja. And people have also started making jokes and tagging Aja whenever Drag Race mentions voguing. And Aja seemingly restarted this issue when she tweeted during the Lollapalooza lip sync, saying that during the Anetra vs Sasha lip sync, the dip was, quote, crusty, and it was assumed that Aja was referring to Anetra. But then, after this week's episode, it appeared that Aja complimented Anetra and said that she was the only one who landed a dip. But Aja did finish by saying that the challenge was, quote, in poor taste. But anyway, that was just a little backstory into the situation, and this is why Batty Davis mentioned Aja's name when they started talking about the voguing mini challenge this week. And Naysha brought up that there's been a lot of controversy going on at the moment that Drag Race did a voguing challenge, and Naysha asked what people's thoughts were on this and whether it was culturally appropriate. But then the episode started back up again, and they said they were going to come back to this topic later, but they never did. They then got to the part of the episode where they were preparing for the challenge, and Anetra said that she had a migraine. And Marcia said that she had said to Anetra that it was a migraine because Marcia gets migraines all the time. But according to Marcia, the medic on set was saying that they might have to go to hospital and was giving Anetra, quote, crazy diagnoses. And Marcia implied that the medic was taking it a bit too seriously. They then moved on, and Naysha asked Juno whether she would ever go on Drag Race and joked that Juno gets asked about that all the time. Just to explain for anyone who may not know, Juno Birch is a British drag queen and YouTuber, and she's become very well known in the drag community, and she's known for painting her face in pastel, quote, alien skin colours, usually blue or yellow, and this is a big part of her drag aesthetic. And she's never been on Drag Race, and for years people thought that she would be because she's very prominent in the drag community, but Juno has said several times that she would not go on Drag Race. Anyway, that's probably why Naysha asked Juno about it, and Juno said that she would love to go on Drag Race and do the acting challenges or Snatch Game, but Juno joked that she, quote, probably wouldn't pass the psych test, and the audience laughed. And the other host, Caramel, said that the psych test is hard, and that's a reason why a lot of local drag performers don't make it onto Drag Race. And Naysha said that the test has 1,000 questions, and said that it's actually more of a patience test. They then got to the part in the episode after the stand-up comedy challenges, and the hosts asked if the edit was true to real life. And Marcia said, quote, I remember it a little differently than that, in terms of the audience reaction, and implied as though it was edited to look worse than it was. But Marcia then said that she was so stressed that perhaps her perception was not accurate. Marcia explained and said that her set was longer than what they actually showed, and she said that each of the pairs got 5 minutes and Marcia got 3 minutes. And Marcia implied as though there were more jokes in her set that got cut out but didn't say what. And someone in the audience shouted out and asked for more details, and Marcia replied and said, quote, that's all you need to know, and everyone laughed. And in general, throughout the viewing party, Marcia seemed to be very careful with what she was saying, and she didn't really give away very much. So this is potentially why people in the audience were shouting out and asking for more details. They then moved on to the judges' critiques, and they mentioned when Michelle said that Marcia's look was similar to Lucy's look from a few episodes ago, and Michelle suggested that Marcia should have been, quote, crafty and done something else. And Naysha made the point that this sort of comment has happened several times on Drag Race, and the queens have only brought what they've brought, and there's no time to make different runways. And Marcia said that the only allotted time where you could make a new outfit is the time that you're allotted to sleep, which is not really feasible. They then got to the part of the episode where Marcia got eliminated, and everyone clapped for Marcia. And Naysha said that usually she doesn't agree with double saves, but she said that in this case, Marcia's lip sync against Anetra should have been a double save, and everyone seemed to agree. And Marcia said that the reason she wasn't that upset when she left is because her goal to get on Drag Race was to showcase her talent, and she said that she was happy that she left after doing a really good lip sync because that's what people will remember her for. And Marcia said that after every lip sync so far in the season, RuPaul has always been very composed. But she said that after her lip sync against Anetra, RuPaul apparently had, quote, an ear-to-ear smile after the lip sync, which is how Marcia knew that the lip sync had been well received. Marcia later talked about her runways and said that she made pretty much all of the runways entirely by herself in just a couple of weeks. And she admitted that some of her concepts were, quote, not fully cooked, and said that they were a bit simple compared to other queens. They then moved on to the audience Q&A, and someone asked Marcia if Luxx's wig from episode 1 really was 40 inches, which was a big joke in the first episode of the season, as a lot of people said that the wig was clearly not 40 inches. And Marcia said, quote, I don't want to give too much away, we did measure it and that's all I'm going to say. And then she said, quote, save it for the reunion. Another audience member then said that in season 14, for the runway, which was a night of 1,000 JLos, there were some limitations of what costumes you were allowed to use, and they asked Marcia if the same was true for the night of 1,000 Beyoncé's runway. And Marcia said that the way they do it is that because they show the reference image side by side with the runway, the image has to be on Getty Images, and so it has to be from either a red carpet or a live performance. And Marcia said that she didn't really know how to incorporate her drag aesthetic with Beyoncé. And Marcia said, quote, "I can confidently say that this was my least favourite runway of the season because I did in fact look like a bag of carpets." And everyone started laughing. This is because last week at Roscoe's, Kennedy Davenport was one of the guests and she said that Marcia's Beyoncé outfit looked like a bag of carpets. And finally, an audience member asked Marcia whether she knew that Anetra had jumped over her during the lip sync. And Marcia said that she had no idea that had happened, and apparently when she was eliminated and walked off stage, one of the PAs came up to her and mentioned it, and Marcia didn't know anything about it, and apparently this was the first time that she had ever actually seen it. So there you go, there was the Roscoe's recap for RuPaul's Drag Race Season 15 Episode 11. Did you think that it should have been a double save after the lip sync this week? And who do you predict will win Season 15? Let me know in the comments. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks for watching and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!